Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Become Great podcast. I'm your host, Ahab and I actually brought a dear friend of mine named Preston Coy with us today. Preston has been in business with me for 13 years. I first met him when he was 23 years old. I bought my first restaurant, and he was somebody I inherited from the previous owner. And the topic today that we're going to be talking about is growing yourself. And he has been one of the absolute experts. I'm just watching him growing himself as a man, as a father, as a partner in business, as a leader. He's just been absolutely incredible. So I wanted to introduce you guys to the people that have impacted me. And Preston Coy is one of those people. So Preston, I just really love your story. I got to be a part of a lot of it. I've only missed maybe a third or two-thirds of it. And so I just wanted to kind of just hear your process and have you share like your process of like, hey, what does it look like to grow? What does it mean for you to grow? And like, what are some of the things you've done practically to just grow yourself as a man, as a leader, as a father?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, first of all, great intro. I think you nailed almost all the things that I'm good at.
Yeah. Pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Marathon runner. I left that part out.
Yeah, very recent. That's a new thing. Yeah, I think, looking back at when you and I first started working together, I believe I was 24. Those earlier years of being in business and starting to like invest in yourself. I think that's the biggest thing for me was learning that not only like people around you aren't always going to invest in you.
Yeah.
But learning that you have to invest in yourself. Right. And I think that was one of the things that I learned in business was I felt like my bosses or my leaders were just supposed to be the ones investing in me, and then learning, I should take the time to invest in myself. And so even now when we're leading younger people into leadership, encouraging them to get into things like reading, listening to podcasts, for instance, or just going out and trying new things, that's them investing in themselves. So that was a big part for me in my growth. And one of the things that I learned early on as well was, I don't remember what book it was from, but it was somebody talking about, thinking about the person you want to be in 5 years and 10 years, which is a common thing that we try to do is like, where do I want to be in 5 years and how do I get there? But imagining that and imagining that person and what it feels like to be that person, even if you're saying, hey, I want to be a millionaire in 10 years, what does a person who makes $1 million do with their free time? How are they spending their time? What are they investing in with their time? Is it books? Is it writing? Is it journaling? Is it, spending time with people that inspire them? So that's another big thing for me was surrounding myself with people that inspired me, people that were more experienced than me, So our relationship meant a lot to me when I was in my 20s because I had somebody who had lived more life than me and knew what they wanted and knew how to get it. And I was like, I think I want that. So I want to learn that and engage in it. So,
yeah. I remember, because I think we probably read this same book, but I heard a quote like the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies will wake up 3 hours before their first appointment.
Right.
And I was like, I'm like waking up like right before I have to be somewhere. And I was like, let me just shift that thing. Whatever that is. Let me wake up 3 hours before I got to be somewhere. They drink a certain amount of water, and there's less CEOs who smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol. And it's like, maybe I need to like change my lifestyle a little bit.
Yeah.
And so like learning what these high performers do and getting exposed to high performers and going, oh my gosh, like they don't live the way I live. And if I want that level of success, I actually probably have to change, not just like the things I do for my life or for my business. I have to change the way I live. Like there's certain like lifestyle choices that cannot be in my life anymore.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. And I love that envisioning yourself and not just like seeing it, but what does that person feel? Like, what does it feel like to be that person? What a cool question.
Yeah.
Like, what was one thing that you did, like one area of your life where you're like, in 10 years, I want to be like that. And then you try to like, then end up getting there.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think one of the things is what I've done this last year of like wanting to be the type of person who is able to get up early in the morning and is committed to, you know, a goal, which for me was to run a marathon this year.
Yeah.
And that goal started actually a few years ago when I decided to cut things out of my life that were not healthy. So,
Yeah.
you know, smoking cigarettes, you know, staying up late with friends, just those types of unhealthy habits, and cutting those out of my life. And then eventually being like, oh, wow, I've actually made progress. So now I can do that thing that I've thought about, because it's just one step at a time. So yeah, that would be a big one, is just my fitness journey, my health journey.
Yeah.
And being the type of person who's like, I actually enjoy doing this. Like I love going out and being outside and breathing the fresh air and running for 10, 15, 20 miles.
Yeah. Which is crazy in my book.
Yeah. And it's still crazy. And that's, you know, one thing I learned from Kirk Wayman too, was to locate your reality and understanding, looking at where you are. We can sometimes get caught up in how we're still not where we want to be.
Yeah.
Because even in that journey, you know, just using that as an example as running a marathon, I still want to get better as a runner. I still want to run another marathon and do it better. But I had to remind myself just a couple of weeks ago, like, hey, you're still, like this time last year, you haven't even thought about running a marathon.
Wow.
And you're already thinking about how to run the next one and run it better.
So it ran one of the hardest marathons you could run. Like it was, half of it is uphill.
Yeah, half of it was uphill. But, you know, made it back.
Yes, you did.
But yeah, I think it's important to do that with everything we do in life, is understanding how far you've come and giving yourself some credit.
Yeah.
Because it's also going to help you build momentum to take on the next challenge. Understanding, hey, I'm actually capable of doing things that I dream about. Not everything is up in the clouds. I can pull it down and bring it down to reality and put it on ground and stand with it. So
that's so good, man. Yeah, I love that, because it's sometimes we can discredit our own progress. And we talked about this in the past. Like one of the ways that you learn to believe in yourself is to actually take a step back and look at the progress you've actually made and go, oh my gosh, I've actually overcome this. I've accomplished this, and then you kind of create a history of winning. And you remind yourself, I've got some winning in my history.
Yeah.
Like this is actually, I'm more accomplished than I think. They're secret victories. Like no one will know, right? That you woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning to run 20 miles, right?
Right.
Just you and your wife are going to know. But that is something that you've done that is, it may be done in silence and nobody's watching. But when you're out there and you're pushing yourself up that hill and you're getting a medal at the end, like then everybody knows, right? Like it's, you know, nobody knows until everybody knows. And so it's just, what a special way to put it. Cause I think that we discredit some of our small victories when they actually are the stepping stones to our big victories.
Yeah.
You know, what we do in secret, like it's going to be made known in public. And it's one way or another. If it's the negative, it's the negative, but we want to stack those powerful, silent moments where nobody gets to see. And then we get exposed to the world. You know, what does Dave Ramsey say? You work your ass off for 10 years and you're an overnight success, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I think there's another saying too, that's something along the lines of, people always envy what you have, but they won't envy how you got it.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, people saying like, oh, you ran a marathon. That's so cool. Like, you know, I'm like, yeah, but it took getting up every day and doing it and falling in love with it, you know? And same thing with, you know, in business, Chick-fil-A, right? It's like, oh, you got a Chick-fil-A. That's so cool. It's like, dude, it took me 3 years of hard interviews and going through just one fiasco after the other and hurdle after the other and then sitting there.
The probing into your life. It was, they say if you can become a Chick-fil-A operator, you can make it into the FBI. Like that's the level of background checking they're doing, which, boy, howdy.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, all that stuff is a part of our story too. And it's something I talk to our young leaders about as well, as giving themselves grace and being okay with failing every once in a while.
Yeah.
And just understanding that right now you're zoomed in, so it feels like a failure. But if you zoom out, as long as you're trending upward, you know, like a graph that has these hills and valleys, peaks and valleys, as long as you're trending in an upward direction, giving themselves grace for failing. And sometimes it's the best way to learn. So,
you know, one of our friends says there's no bullseyes in life, right? And you have to think about it. Like sometimes we do put like these targets out in front of us, but we never hit a bullseye. right? Like the target, say it's the goal of running a marathon.
Sure.
Like you wanted to hit a certain time, right? You didn't hit the time that you wanted, right? But here's the thing. The target you put out there was just so you knew you were going in that direction.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes we don't realize that the target we put out in front of us is actually not meant to have a bullseye. Bullseyes, the people who get bullseyes, they shoot the arrow and then they hit the target and they go, oh yeah, that's exactly where I was aiming.
Yeah.
look how awesome I am.
Right.
You know, but the reality is we put the target out in front of us just so I know I'm not going that way. I'm not going that way.
Yeah.
I'm going this way. This is the direction I'm pointing my life. And that the growth journey, sometimes we just have to put something in front of us. For me, a couple of years ago, it was a men's physique competition, right? I had lost 100 pounds. I was in really good shape, but I'd never been under 10% body fat. And I'm like, I don't even know if it's humanly possible. You know, I was 340 pounds. That guy lived in my head. And like he still at some times will pop his head up, but I would see myself still as a 340 pound person. And so getting into this thing of like, I'm going to go on stage with my shirt off for hundreds of people to look at.
Yeah.
And then not just that, they're going to judge how my body looks. This is terrifying.
Yeah. No, that's terrifying.
And then when you go on the stair climber for 70 minutes, you're thinking, I'm doing this so I don't feel like a fool on the day of being on stage. You know, when you're working out 3 hours, it's just, you do that stuff in secret so that you can be ready for that moment on the stage. You know, and those are the type of things. Like, what do you do? Like, what are some practical things for you that you do to keep yourself sharp, to keep yourself growing? Because one of the things I believe is, if I'm not growing, the people who are serving me, they won't even think about growing. And so what are the things that you do to kind of keep yourself sharp, keep your team motivated?
Oh man, that's a good question. I mean, I think it's always trying to go after something. So I think there's certainly seasons where I go through that I'm like, you know, business isn't really captivating my interest right now. And so it can be something else. It can be a different, you know, certainly like audiobooks, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's a book I'm listening to right now. It's called Hidden Potential. Yeah. And that's been a really engaging book for me. And other seasons where I'm usually reading books about leadership. I'm reading something like Atomic Habits. Yeah. Just trying to keep the subject matters different and trying to keep it interesting. And like I said, just trying to engage in something rather than nothing. It's really easy to get comfortable and just kind of start spinning your wheels doing the same thing. So that's probably one way that I go after just growth and consistency, but also understanding, you know, something I learned from, you know, Kirk as well was knowing that there can be seasons where it's just, hey, we can't always be growing. It is hard to grow all the time. Yeah. But understanding, hey, I'm gonna take a season to not grow, or just rest rather,
and intentionally do it.
Yeah, and having a time frame on it, right? Yeah. So not being type of person, well, I'm not growing right now. It's like, well, it's been about 6 months you've been saying that. So, let's figure something out. So yeah, I think that's at least one way that I continue to try to pursue growth in my life. So yeah, and for me this year it was running, right? So and now it's kind of gotten into a nice groove where it's part of my daily life. It's not like super intentional because it's a good habit. So now I can focus on other things and grow. So
I remember you and I was driving you home, and you were wanting to leave my company at that time, right? And you were like, hey man, you know, I'm thinking about applying at Costco. You remember that? You remember these conversations?
Oh yeah.
And I remember, like, as your boss, kind of like really feeling like this mixed emotion. Like, one, really sad to lose you. Yeah. The other side, like, I'm not going to let this guy think Costco is better than him. You know, because you were so intimidated by going to work for Costco. Like, it was this big job that was going to, like, it was too big for you. Yeah. Right. And I remember just going, you need to apply. You need to apply. You need to get the interview. You need to crush it. Like, and if they hire you, you need to take that job. And it was like I've watched you over the last 13 years, like grow in your belief in yourself.
Yeah.
Can you just talk to like, how did the kid who was too intimidated to apply to Costco, end up running a Chick-fil-A with me?
Oh man. Yeah. I think it's definitely having somebody like you in my life. My level of belief in myself in my 20s was pretty low, right? I mean, just having that standard of being like, all right, I'm ready to spread my wings from being a barista and go work in a warehouse and hope that there's a career there.
Yeah.
And having someone like you, it's like, I believe in you more than I think you believe in yourself. And having that comment that's stuck with me for that long of just saying, whoa, somebody believes in me. And so having mentors in your life is really, really important, because you can get stuck in your own head and start to believe narratives that you've created on your own about what you're capable of or things that you can't do. And so, like I said, having people that can influence you is really important in your life. Mentors, friends, business coaches, things like that. So they can see things in you and start to tell you like, I don't know if you're seeing this, but like, this is a skill of yours. This is a talent of yours.
Yeah.
But here are some things you can get better at. And then through that, just learning, I can actually do things and be good at them. And yeah, I mean, being comfortable with the uncomfortable, and something I challenge our young leaders to do is go try to do things that you like don't know how to do, fail forward.
Yeah.
And you'll learn that you're more than capable and you can do it. It's just making sure you have people in your life that's there to back you up and say, yeah, you can do it, so.
While you were sharing, I was reminded of like, it was early days. Jesse and I had probably just bought Yaks.
Mm-hmm. I think I know where this story's going.
You know what I'm talking about?
Well, go ahead.
And I don't even know if I know your perspective on this story. Maybe I'll have you share your side. But
yeah,
I remember my wife was closing with you one night, and she asked you like, "Oh, Preston, why are you doing it like that?" And you started saying, "I'm just lazy. I'm just lazy."
Mm-hmm.
And my wife was so struck by your words.
Yeah,
she called me and she goes, "Hey, I just talked to Preston, and he was calling himself lazy."
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen him lazy. Where do you think that's coming from? And and I remember just like, I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I've never seen it either. Like, Preston's such a hard worker.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember I called you. I was on my way to a trip. I was in the airport and I'm like, hey, like, my wife told me that you were saying that you're lazy.
Yeah.
And can I just tell you, like, I've never seen that. I've never seen you be lazy. Actually, you're one of the most hardworking young men. I just kind of went off on all the great qualities that I've seen in you. And I closed it out with like, if you want to talk like that about yourself, I can't stop you, but just please don't do it in front of me and my wife. Because you start making us believe what you believe about yourself and we don't see it.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
It's a powerful moment,
Yeah.
And yeah, it was very early on. I think it was like within the first month of you guys taking over that coffee shop.
It was really early days.
Yeah.
I was a better leader back then.
Again, it's just, it's those beliefs that we build in ourselves, I think, unfortunately, some, it's debatable. I talk about the perspective on the education system, but like, coming from school, I was always somebody that didn't always excel in terms of like my grade point average,
Yeah.
And so if I actually put work towards stuff, I would do pretty well. But for the most part, I just didn't care.
Yeah.
And so, maybe it carried on to the work environment where I was like, I'm just kind of lazy. I cut corners, And so that belief system just crept into everything that I did. But having the type of person that instead of just saying, you just say he's lazy, that's not true. But having somebody who's so intentionally, who's on a trip out of state, call you and go, dude, you don't talk about yourself like that.
Yeah.
Which was cool because I'd never been reprimanded in such a kind, like, you're in trouble for being mean to yourself, And I think that's cool. I think that's something that we can do as leaders is just be like speaking against things that people believe about themselves and like you say, if you like something about somebody, let it be known, and we should do the same thing in the opposite direction, right?
Yeah.
If you say something about yourself that's not true, don't say that, like I do it at work too, where someone says something like, oh, I'm just being mean to myself or whatever. I'll be like, hey, I really like you. And I would never say that about you. So you shouldn't say it about yourself either.
Yeah.
Right.
So here's a crazy thing. Like, it's rare for someone to believe a stranger. You might believe your friend, but you always believe yourself. And so it's so important that we correct the way we talk to ourselves, because you don't trust anybody the way you trust you.
Yeah.
And so that the way we speak to ourselves, the way we communicate to ourselves, it is the number one area we need to guard and protect, because it's so easy to slip into, oh man, I'm such an idiot. Oh, I'm so dumb. Like, oh, I can't believe I said that. Oh, what a moron. It's easy to slip into that.
Yeah. The world is cruel enough. We don't need to do that to ourselves.
Yeah. If you need encouragement, you should be the first one to give it to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like one of the, one of the things we say all the time is we celebrate progress, not perfection, right? We want to be moving in that right direction. We're not aiming for bullseyes. Rarely are we going to get a bullseye, but we want to just go in the right direction. So we're celebrating the progress, not the perfection. And I think that's all a part of the growth journey, giving grace for yourself, having the ability to say, this wasn't perfect, but I was actually moving in the right direction. Finding mentors, reading, most of my mentors I've never met in person. I think you're the same. Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
They're people, we've heard their voices in audiobooks, right?
Totally.
But we've never actually met them in person. We've seen them on podcasts.
Right.
Simon Sinek is a mentor of mine. Right.
Too.
Andy Andrews is a mentor of mine. Dave Ramsey is a mentor of mine. I've never met these men. Yeah. But they've influenced my life to create the man that I am today, which is, and I would encourage people that are like, someone might be watching this saying, man, there's no mentors around me. Yeah, there are. They're in a book. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember you told me that years ago too, when you're encouraging me to start reading. You're like, you can take what it took a man a whole lifetime to learn in just 6 hours in a book.
Yeah. What a shortcut.
Which is crazy.
It's a life hack.
Yeah, it is. It's a life hack, and it's out there, and it's so easy and it's so accessible, especially with audiobook now, because for me, if I open a book, I'm going to fall asleep.
It's a great nap opportunity.
It is. But audiobooks are phenomenal. You can do it while you drive, while you run, while you fold laundry, while you cook, whatever you do. They're great. But to piggyback on what you're saying too, with like going towards progress and giving yourself grace is another phrase that we have too, which is we turn every L into a lesson. Every season's not going to be successful. We might lose sometimes, but we're going to learn from it. We're going to grow from it. Yeah. And that's really what we're talking about, right?
Yeah. It's just, and I used to take those L's and I would whip myself. Yeah. Like I would punish myself. I had already lost. And then I would heap on with punishing myself. Yeah. Right. And then I just remember just one day going, what did I learn from that? Because I don't want to feel that pain again. Yeah. That was so painful. I don't want, you and I had a conversation earlier this week and I handled it much differently than I handled a similar conversation a year ago. Yeah, definitely. Because that year ago conversation was so painful. I didn't want to go through that with you again. I wanted to learn from my own mistakes and like still have a healthy, beautiful relationship with you. Yeah. And those are the types of things where I'm like, if I'm going to live this life, I don't need to circle the same failure over and over and over again. No. Yeah. Yeah. At least like get something out of it. Yeah. If you're going to lose, at least get a lesson out of it. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's something that a lot of our young leaders struggle with, is like getting stuck in their head when they make a mistake. Oh, yeah. And speaking against that as much as we can. It's just like, hey, just move on, but learn something from it, right? Yeah. Think about what happened, what your thought process was, and pivot. Yeah. Find a way to prevent it from happening again. So I think one of the keys that we're kind of walking away with in this episode is like, our words are powerful. Yeah. The way we speak to one another, the way we speak to ourselves, the words of another leaders being into our lives, whether it's audiobooks or books, podcasts, the words are powerful. and just surrounding ourselves with the right words, the right people, the right books, the right friends. Preston, thanks so much for coming on here. It's an honor to have you and just share you with our audience, man. Like you've been a pivotal part of my life for the last 13 years. And I love you. Love your time. Yeah,
man. Feelings mutual. I love you a lot.
Yeah.
Been a long time.
If you like the content, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Tell us what you like about what we're bringing. Love to hear the feedback. Anyway, remember, you too can become great. See you next time.